This is part 2 for the lesson on Tuesday. This is where we're going to solve all the odd number problems between problem set number 1 through 15. So let's jump right into it. Our first question is, the weight of an object on the moon is 1/6 of its weight on Earth. A person weighing 114 pounds on Earth would weigh how much on the moon? So I've set up the problem like this: 1/6 times 114. This is the number of pounds, so we're going to multiply it. Now, when multiplying a whole number, we can draw our line and place the 1 as the decimal. I'm sorry, not as the decimal, as the denominator. And so we multiply the numerator by the numerator and the denominator by the denominator to give us the final answer of 114/6. Now we turn this into our division problem. The 114, the numerator becomes the dividend, and the denominator 6 becomes the divisor. And we go ahead and I went ahead and divided this. So the final answer here is 114 divided by 6 is 19. So how much would a person weigh on the moon? They would, someone that weighs 114 pounds would only weigh 19 pounds. Or you could put LB. So if you want to lose weight quickly, just take a trip to the moon. Problem solved. All right, number 3. We have Cupid shot 24 arrows and hit 6 targets. What fraction of his shots hit the target? So the total number is 24, and 6 of them hit their target, okay? So we need to see what number goes evenly into both of them. In this case, it's 6. So we divide both numbers by 6. 6 goes into 6 one time evenly, and then 6 goes into 24 4 times evenly. So your final answer is 1/4. So 1/4 of Cupid's shots hit the target. That teaches you a lesson to shoot your shot. Just kidding. All right, number 5. Find the fraction of the group that is shaded. So I probably should have done a little sketch of what you're seeing, but you have your book right in front of you, so you can see. You see that there are 8 whole parts, and that 3 of those 8 parts are shaded in. So this is how you would write the answer to letter A, 3/8. And then you have part B, convert the fraction in part A to a decimal. And we've learned how to do this in previous lessons, but I went ahead and set it up here. I don't know if you can see it here. The numerator becomes the dividend again, and the denominator becomes the divisor. And I went ahead and worked out the problem. 8 does not go into 3, so we write 0, we put our decimal right above it into our quotient, and we see that 8 goes into 30 3 times evenly. So 3 times 8 is 24. We subtract that. 30 minus 24 is 6. We bring down the 0. Then 7 times 8 is, 56. And then we subtracted that from 60, which gave us 4. And you see here we kept adding the zeros. We keep going when working with decimals. We don't write the remainder as a fraction. We just keep adding zeros until we can't add any more zeros. So that's what I did here. Subtracted 56 from 60, that gave us 4, brought down the 0, then 5 times 8 is 40. So our final answer for letter B is 0.375. Okay, let's go on to problem number 7. Okay, we're dealing with exponents. We have 3 squared minus 2 cubed, and we learned about that in lesson 72. I went over it last week with you. But I set up the problem so you could see what it's doing. 3 squared would look like this: 3 times 3, which gives us our product of 9. And then the cube of 2, or 2 cubed, would be 2 times 2 times 2. It's not 2 times 3, it's 2 times the number itself, and you see the number that's raised, it's called the exponent of the number, and then the bottom number is called the base, just for review. Okay, so I went ahead and multiplied it. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and then this is a subtraction problem, so I said 9 minus 8. Very difficult. I hope you guys get this right. It's 1. All right, final answer to number 7 is 1. Let's move on to number 9. 3/5 of $1 is how many cents? So this is the way I set it up. 3/5 equals blank over 100 because we know there are 100 cents in a dollar and that's what we're looking for. Does that make sense? You get it? Makes sense? Okay. No one's laughing. Anyway, no one's laughing because there's no one in the room. I think if there was someone in the room in here with me, like you guys, my 6th grade class, you'd be cracking up. But anyway, so we've got 3/5, and I look for which number I can multiply it by to equal 100. In this case, 5 times 20 equals 100. So whatever I do to the denominator, I'm going to do to the numerator as well. So 3 times 20 is 60. So I see that 3/5 of a dollar is 60 cents. And number 10 is part of that. You guys know how to convert a fraction into a percentage, right? It's 60% if you're wondering for number 10. All right, let's go on to number 11. A temperature of -3 degrees Fahrenheit is how many degrees below the temperature at which water freezes? So this question assumes that you know at what temperature water freezes. If you don't know, now you do. It's 32 degrees. Water freezes at 32 degrees. But what we're looking for is how many degrees below the temperature at which water freezes is -3. So I set my 0 here and then I set my negative number here. So what is the difference in the number line of this thermometer? How many degrees of difference are there? So a lot of you in class sometimes get thrown off by this. You'll subtract -3 from 32, but that wouldn't give you the correct answer. The correct answer is found by adding 32 to 3. So there is a difference of 35 degrees. So that should be your final answer. Don't let that confuse you. All right, let's go on to number 13. Here it is. We have 1/2 plus 2/3. Now remember, we cannot add a fraction with unlike denominators. They must have a common denominator. So in order to find the common denominator, we need to find the greatest common factor. Not the least common multiple, the greatest common factor between the two. Okay, so in this case, the greatest common factor between 2 and 3 is 6. So I've taken 1/2 times 3 over 3, because remember, whatever we do to the denominator, we've got to do to the numerator as well. So I'll multiply 1/2 times 3 over 3, and the answer is 3 over 6. So now we have a denominator of 6. And then we've got 2/3, I multiplied it by 2 over 2 for the same reason. And now we have 4 over 6. Now we can go ahead and add these fractions together because they have a common denominator. Now, when adding fractions, remember, we don't add the denominator, we only add the numerator. So in this case, 3 plus 4 is 7. So now we have 7 over 6. This is an improper fraction, like we review over and over again in class, but I'll keep reviewing it with you. It's an improper fraction. Improper fractions need to be turned into a mixed number. Okay, we need to reduce it. So 6 goes into 7 one time evenly, and you have a remainder of 1 over 6. So your final answer should be 1 and 1 over 6. And we're already at the end. So number 15, 1/2 plus 3/4 plus 7/8. Now remember, we can't add fractions with unlike denominator. They need to have a common denominator. So we need to find the greatest common factor of all 3 of these fractions. In this case, it's stated right here. It's number 8. 8 is the greatest common factor between these. So I need to multiply these denominators so that they'll equal 8. So for number 2, I multiply it by 4. And again, whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So 4 over 4. I take 1/2 times 4 over 4 equals 4 over 8. Then 3/4. In order for it to equal 8, I took 2 over 2. That gives us 6/8. And then 7/8. You don't necessarily have to write this, but I just wrote it to show you, to know how we transferred it over. It's just 1 over n. So 1 times 7 is 7, 1 times 8 is 8. So now we can add them because all 3 fractions have a common denominator. Again, we don't add the denominator when adding or subtracting fractions. We only add the numerator or subtract the numerator. In this case, we are adding. So 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 7 is 17. So now we have 17 over 8. 17 over 8 is an improper fraction. That's right. And we have to change our improper fraction into a mixed number. 8 goes into 17 2 times evenly with a remainder of 1, so we write it as a fraction, 1 over 8. So your final answer to number 15 is 2 and 1/8. Go ahead and do all the work, all the even numbers if you haven't already. Again, on the quizzes, I give all the answers. So you're given 3 options that you have to pick from. And one of those options is always the correct one. So if you don't have any of the 3 options as your answer is wrong. So it needs to be one of those 3 answers. Now I don't just want you guys guessing on the math work. Make sure you work out the problems and answer them correctly. All right, thank you.